The knife is a Spyderco Kapara and S30V steel. The Kapara is a collaboration that Spyderco did with custom knife maker Alistair Phillips. It's their version of his custom folder, the red back, which is named after an Australian spider with a red back. Kapara is another name for that same spider. Red back, probably explaining the red backspacer that's in the knife. I wasn't sure if I was going to want this model. I was kind of on the fence about it, but when I saw pictures coming up on Instagram, I decided to look into the knife further. And in watching reviews about it, a lot of people are saying knife of the year or Spyderco knife of the year. I reached out to the knifejoker.com because I saw that he had some in stock, and I went ahead and picked one up. This knife is made exceptionally well. The fit and finish, the ergonomics, the blade geometry, the way that the compression lock is made on these models is just outstanding. What you're talking about is a blade that's around 3.5 inch, carbon fiber handle scales. Other than the backspacer, it's flow through construction, wire clip, tip up. Fairly lightweight, no jimping. It is extremely ergonomic. I mean, this knife is impressive in hand. It's impressive to look at. I think that they really did a good job with it. I don't know if we want to say knife of the year yet. I mean, I don't care about those predictions anyway, but it might make sense to wait and see what else comes out. But in getting this knife, the ergonomics are excellent. When I got it, the edge was so good that I simply put it in my pocket and started carrying it. Well, I stropped it for a little bit, but it was just below hair whittling out of the box. So that's good praise for Spyderco's Tai Chung crew as far as the sharpening goes. I carried it for a few days, and I just wanted to see what I thought of it. I wanted to get a little bit of use in with it. I wanted to see how it handled itself in cutting and how it handled itself in carrying. And really, I was looking for problems or flaws with it, design flaws, and I really wasn't coming up on anything. This knife, it's really, as far as I'm concerned, it's like a very high quality EDC knife or a gentleman's carry. The only thing that fights the gentleman's carry aspect is that it's a little big, it's a little large. But I mean, if 3.5 inches is okay for that in your world, then fine. Otherwise, it's just a very, very well-made EDC knife. Not particularly overbuilt. I wouldn't put this through the same abuse as a PM2, although this may be fine taking it, I'm not sure. But it just doesn't give me that feeling in holding the knife. But it is very well made, and I think it'll be fine for everyday use. One of the things that's discussed about this knife is that the steel used is S30V. And this knife isn't cheap. I mean, this is retailing at what, 188, 189? So it's not a cheap knife, but it's the steel that's used on it is S30V, and there's people on different sides of the fence with this. The fact that they used S30V is what kept me away from it as long as it kept me from buying it as long as I waited. It's not that S30V is a bad steel. It's just, it's not really special, not in comparison to some other options. I would have gone with S90V or 20CV for this model in a heartbeat, and I think that if they had done that, it would have been a better choice. Again, there's nothing wrong with S30V. It's a great knife steel. It's just, this knife it's $190. You're in the $200 range, and everything about this knife is special except the steel. And I think that's where people's hang up is. I mean, you've got people arguing against it, and then you've got other people arguing against them that S30V is fine, and people are upset on both sides, and whatever. S30V is fine. It'll do the job. But when you're talking about a knife in this price range, especially one that's as well executed as this knife is, I think it would have made sense to go with a different option. Now, that being said, I still like this knife very much, and I'm really looking forward to carrying it and using it. For me, it's been a while since I had S30V from Spyderco. I mean, I've got a ton of it, but I don't really carry it that much. So the idea of getting a new model in S30V from Spyderco's Taichung factory, I was looking forward to that. I mean, I like the idea of that. S30V sharpens really, really well, and that was important to me with this model. I mean, given the blade geometry and how it's made, that really made a difference to me. So I got the knife and I carried it for a few days, and I really wanted to wait to do a full sharpening until I could sit down and do it for review. For this blade, given the shape of it, the design, I thought that it would make sense to do a higher polish as opposed to a coarse finish, just because of the aesthetic of it. I've been doing some work with vitrified diamond water stones from Practical Sharpening. I reviewed the stones, and since then I've gotten a few more to add to that set. So for this sharpening, well, before the sharpening, I did some more cutting just to get it on video, just to get a little bit more use with the knife in hand on cardboard. And it does handle well. The finger choil on it is great. There's no hot spots that I can find. This is going to be a great user of a knife. For the sharpening, I started off with a 160 grit vitrified diamond water stone. It's a super aggressive stone. With this knife particularly, I was going very slow, but with any knife you want to be careful, because you'll apex very quickly, and if you're not careful, you'll remove too much material. After the 160 grit, I moved on to a 400 grit vitrified diamond water stone. I worked with the 400, that was no problem. Moved through, apex the knife again, and moved on to a 1000 grit. 1000 grit, you're starting to bring the polish up more. After the 1000 grit, I moved on to a 3000 grit, worked with that, and then I finished with a 6000 grit resin bonded diamond water stone from Practical Sharpening. The 6K resin bonded stone has been great. I've been enjoying it very much. It handles itself very well. And in fact, I've been using it as a finishing stone, and in this case, with this sharpening, I did that as well. Finished with the 6K stone and moved straight to strops. The strop that I started with was a 4 micron diamond on leather. I moved on to a 1 micron diamond on leather, and then a 1/4 micron and a 1/10 of a micron. When all was done, the sharpness of the knife, I mean, I'm used to dealing with steels with much higher carbide content than this. This came up sharp enough that it could whittle a hair both ways for me. S30V for me sharpens very, very well, and I very much enjoy the way that the edge comes up on it. What'll be interesting is for me to carry the knife and see how well it holds up, given the sharpening that I'm doing, the stones that I'm using these days. I'm looking forward to that aspect. I mean, this came up so sharp. I got a piece of footage from the whole thing that was great. The edge really comes up really well. I like the way that S30V sharpens. I much prefer it to something like S35VN. So the fact that they chose S30V is, I mean, it's fine. It doesn't stop me from liking the model. I've been enjoying it so far, and I'm going to keep enjoying it. The sharpening was great. I want to take this model and run with it, put a lot of use on it, and get a good idea in my head of Spyderco's S30V again. I mean, and Spyderco, you know, they do a great job with S30V. In my experience, they really know how to handle the steel well. So I am looking forward to using this, looking forward to giving it a lot of pocket time, and I think that Spyderco did a great job with it.